Good morning, children. Let us continue with chapter 15, Atmospheric Pressure and Winds, part 2. In the previous class, we studied about factors affecting the atmospheric pressure and winds. Today, we are going to study about factors affecting the direction and speed of winds. Now, there are two factors which affect the direction and speed of wind. One is pressure gradient and the next one is Coriolis force. Now, what is pressure gradient? It's the rate of change of air pressure between two places is called a pressure gradient. So we always studied that the air moves from a high pressure to a low pressure. The velocity or speed of the wind depends on the pressure difference between two places. Wind speed is more when pressure gradient is more or steep. Wind speed is less when pressure gradient is less or gentle. So what is a pressure gradient? It is the rate of change of air pressure between two places, and this is known as pressure gradient. Now what is Coriolis force? This is the next factor which affects the direction and speed of wind. The force which deflects wind due to rotation of earth is termed as Coriolis force. Winds are displayed from the direction of the wind gradient to the Coriolis force. Now Ferrel has formulated this law. So we studied that near the equator the speed of the wind is less. That is because of this Coriolis force. That is, winds are displayed from the direction of the wind gradient due to Coriolis force. Understood? So once again, the force which deflects winds due to the rotation of the earth is termed as Coriolis force. So see, I have drawn a picture here. Again, Ferrel has formulated this law to indicate the actual direction of the wind in the northern and southern hemispheres after considering the impact of Coriolis force. This is known as Ferrel's law. According to Ferrel, now what does he say? If we stand facing the direction, suppose you are standing here, this part, okay, and you are facing the equator. What happens? When the wind is blowing, we feel greater impact of the wind on the right hand side. So when you are standing here, this is your right hand side. So we will feel greater impact of wind on our right hand side in the northern hemisphere and towards the left. When you are standing here and facing the equator, you are standing here facing the equator, your left hand is here, your right hand is here. So the wind will move towards, by the time it is reaching from the poles, it is reaching the equator, it is being deflected towards the left. So this is happening in the southern hemisphere. The effect of rotation of the earth on the direction of the wind is minimum at the equator. So the effect of the rotation of earth on the direction of the wind is minimum at the equator and is maximum at the poles. From here, when it is coming, it is rotating very fast. Here the moment is slightly less, that's what we feel, and at the poles it is too much. So when it is coming from there, it is reaching towards equator, the moment of the wind is less. So once again, the effect of rotation of earth on the direction of the wind is minimum at the equator and is maximum at the poles. So this is known as Ferrel's law. He clearly said the Coriolis force is once again clearly formulated by Ferrel, known as Ferrel's law. With the picture he has given in the text, please read that. Now, certain areas have been left out that we will see in the next class. Now, let us see what are permanent winds. Okay, let us study certain winds here. Permanent winds, periodic winds, local winds. From the word itself, permanent means what's always there. So they are trade winds. They move from subtropical high pressure belt to equatorial low pressure areas. It brings rain to the eastern margins. So permanent means winds are also known as planetary winds. They are also known as planetary winds and they are prevailing winds. And main wind which we take is, we are going to study here is trade winds. There are trade winds, westerlies, etc. But today we are going to study only about trade winds because only that is given for you in the syllabus for this year. The other winds have been omitted. So these winds blow from the subtropical high pressure belt towards the equator. The trade winds are deflected to the right of the path in the northern hemisphere and the left of their path in the southern hemisphere. They bring rains to the eastern margins. So this is known about trade winds. Now what is a periodic? Periodic itself you can understand. Period means only in certain period it will come. So summer monsoon and winter monsoon. Now we've got now October, November we are having winter monsoons. Summer monsoons means in June, July. So when the land gets heated up, what happens? It is low pressure there and the winds carrying moisture will enter into the land and we'll get summer monsoon. And when in October, November, when there is high pressure, when it is cold, it is high pressure in the land. And in the sea, it is low pressure. The picture is given clearly in the textbook. You have to go through it. The winds will blow from high pressure area to a low pressure. That's the basic thing you have to keep in mind. Wind always move from a high pressure area to a low pressure area. So, summer monsoon means high pressure to low pressure. In the sea, it is high pressure. Land, it is low pressure. From the winds carrying moisture enters into the land, gives rain everywhere. Then after 6 months, it's returning. So, it is high pressure in the land and low pressure in the ocean. So it is coming back. Now let us study about few local winds. Which are the local winds? Local winds are mountain valley winds, Mistral, Lu, Chinook and Fohn. Understood? These are the winds which you have to study when you are talking about local winds. Now let us see what is a local wind. Okay. Local winds have their own difference. They are only smaller. They are small and they happen only in local areas which they prevail. Therefore, these winds are termed as local winds. Certain areas only it will be happening. That is why it is known as a local wind. Now, mountain valleys, and these winds comes in mountains and they are known as mountain winds. They are known as cataptic wind also. Cataptic. What is it? It is cataptic winds also. It is known as cataptic. You have to look into the spelling and study well. These they are formed in hilly regions. During the night, the air at the mountain tops becomes quite cool. Its density increases and it flows down the slopes into the valley below during the night or early in the morning before sunrise. So this is known as mountain or valley winds. And Mistral is also studied in 8th standard. It's a cold local wind experienced along the southern coast of France, adjoining region in the northern part of Mediterranean Sea. Then you have Lu, that happens in India, northwestern part of India. That is during summer, solar rays are nearly vertical over the Tropic of Cancer. Therefore, North India records high temperature. So, Lu originates in the western part of Rajasthan. It's very important wind, okay? It happens in western Rajasthan, western part of Rajasthan. Chinook means snow eater. That also you studied in previous class. These local winds descend from the eastern slope of the Rocky Mountain range in the western part of North America. Then you have Fohn. These winds which cross the Alps and descend from Europe, descend Switzerland are called Fohn. Other similar winds which descend down the mountain slopes are northwestern New Zealand, Santa Ana in California, Samoan in Iran, etc. You've got few winds, but you need to study only these winds for this year. Hope you understood, children. We are going to wind up with this chapter. So you will read this area. Only which I have marked here are written in this chart you need study. We will discuss once again that in the live class. Thank you, children. Bye.